Hey there, and welcome to my very first video on my brand new channel, Native Arms. What we're going to be doing on this channel is going over the technical side of firearms, as well as the usual fun side, which is getting to shoot them. Our very first firearm that we're going to go over is a gift from a buddy that's letting me borrow it for this, and that's going to be the Scorpion EVO3 S1. Let's go ahead and dive into it and get started. So the first thing we're going to do here is go ahead and give this thing a regular field strip so we can give it a quick clean, lubrication, and then we're going to go for the shooting. Now this has never been fired before. Unfortunately, my friend doesn't have a whole lot of time being a full-time truck driver, so he's given us the honor of getting to have the first shots out of it, minus the 3 that it comes from the factory with, so you can see how its general grouping does. So let's go ahead and get started on the breakdown. First thing we're going to want to do is put it onto fire, as the bolt will not pull to the rear with it on safety. We're going to grab our forward charging handle, charge it to the rear, and then angle it upward to lock it into place. With our bolt locked to the rear, we can go ahead and hit our fire control group takedown pin, and that'll come out just as far as it lets itself slide. And then you can pull your trigger group down and forward, and you have the whole fire control group that comes off in one piece. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to slowly release our bolt with control so that we can ride it forward, get our fingers on the top of it, and then as it comes towards the top, we're going to just angle it downward and out, and then we have our full bolt carrier group out of our Scorpion EVO3. Now we can go ahead and set this back down because we're not really going to need the rest of this, as this is a general field strip level. Just simply taking off your trigger control group and your bolt group, and you've achieved a field strip. Next thing we're going to do is just give a quick wipe down to everything, lubricate it up, and then we're going to go for the reassembly. All right, now I went ahead and did a little bit more thorough of an inspection, and I discovered that these really aren't dirty at all, just from those 3 factory rounds. So all we're going to do is just hit the main lubrication points, reassemble, and then we'll be able to get to the fun part. So what we're going to start with, we've got our Liberty lubricants. You can use whatever brand you want to. We're just going to take that, and we're not going to apply it liberally at all. We're going to be extremely scarce in the areas that we hit. The first thing we're going to do is put a drop right at the back of the firing pin here. And that's going to be able to seep through all the way to the front of the firing pin, ensuring that that pin channel is completely lubricated. We've got one more piece on the bottom of the bolt. We're just going to drop one quick drop on. And we can see that seeping down further into the metal, going through the holes that are already machined into the piece. Now we've got our bolt group all lubed up and ready, and we'll hit a couple more spots that are sliding points, which you can always tell by seeing where you have any kind of marks that are not from machining. And all we're going to do for that is just rub the bottle on it real quick to get a nice little lube line there. And we'll work it in a little bit with our finger. Now we can move on to our trigger control group. Not much we got to do here. Again, what we're doing is not protecting the firearm from any sort of oxidation. We're trying to make sure that it's functioning correctly, even in a harsh environment. So we've got another area here on the front of the hammer where it contacts the back of the firing pin. And we are just going to throw a little dab on there because that is quickly becoming bare metal from having the bluing worn off of it. And we're also going to take our lubricant and just put one quick drop on each side of the trigger hammer spring there. Now we've got everything all lubricated. Let's go ahead and reassemble so that we can get ready for the fun part. All right, we've got our EVO3 back here in front of us, so we're going to go ahead and throw that bolt in first. So make sure I give you a good view of everything. We're going to hold the bolt like this. Easiest way to tell is this plate at the back of the recoil spring. The elongated side should be facing downward. That's going to go towards the bottom of the weapon. So we'll place that in the back first, and we'll begin pressing down on it to compress the spring so we can get it over this takedown pin lug. And we're going to continue to press backwards into it until we've got it fully seated. And then we're going to bring our charging handle down so it can grab onto the bolt so you can get your finger out of there. And now we have our bolt fully back in place. For the for the trigger control group, obviously you want to make sure that your safety is towards the rear, so that way you can make sure it's going in the right way. Or you can also just look at it and say, hey, I've never seen a trigger that bends to the rear before. So, put your fire control group in. We'll make sure we got our buttstock out of the way here for that takedown pin. We're going to lead in with the back first, the exact opposite of how we took it off. And now we have our weapon fully reassembled. Now there is one more thing that we're going to do that I forgot to mention before we move on to the firing part, and that's going to be helping my buddy out and make sure that we've got a real good zero on his Burris optic here. The way we're going to start that is with a zeroing laser, a bore laser, and that's not really to get an accurate zero on the optic. That's to ensure that when we go to fire it, the optic isn't so far off that we're not even hitting on paper at first, in which it would make it really hard to be sure that we could zero it. So we're going to use the laser just so that way we know that the optic is in the general area of where the bore is pointing, so that way we can make sure we're at least on paper, making zeroing much easier for us. According to Medusa targets, criminal justice statistics, civilian self-defense case analysis, and even FBI data analysis statistics point to the same conclusion. The average self-defense shooting incident happens at a range from 9 to 21 feet. So as you can see today, to make sure that our weapon is zeroed the way that my buddy that let me borrow it wants it to be, we're going to be engaging right around 15 feet, that average for the range that was given. Now the first thing that we're going to have to do is make sure that our zero is really good on our Burris Fastfire 3 here. And we have ourselves some Blazer ammunition, 115 grain, full metal jacket, 9mm that we're going to do that with. All right, let's go ahead and get started. I love this part with these types of weapons. All right, now we're going to go ahead and take a look at our target. Let's go. So you can see that we're hitting just a little bit low here, which is pretty typical from a close range. But again, our friend wants this optic set up for that close range. So we're going to go ahead and dial that in. We have a fantastic grouping. It looks like 2 of the rounds even went in the same hole. So all we're going to do here is go ahead and bring it up some, and we're going to do just a little bit more shooting. All right, we've made our first set of adjustments here. We went up a little bit and just the tiniest bit to the right because I noticed we were off left just a little. So we're going to go ahead and hit it with our next 3 rounds. All right, we've made our second set of adjustments now that we've been able to make our first and see how little of a change that made. We can kind of judge how much of a change we need to make that second time a little better. So we're going to go ahead and hit it with our next 3 rounds and see how the second change did to the optic. Now you can see here we forgot to show our first change, and it literally, I mean, it took it up by maybe 1/4 of an inch. So we knew that we had to make a significantly more higher change. So by our second change here, we still have a great grouping right here, well within our general want of a 4-centimeter circle. And we've definitely gotten right beside the center of the target now. We're gonna make one more set of small changes, and then we're gonna hit our last 3 rounds. And we'll try to throw in a little bit of slow-mo, though I don't have one of those expensive cameras, just one of the newest iPhones. So let's see what we can come up with, you guys. All right, we've made our last set of adjustments here. We're gonna go ahead and hit it with these last 3 rounds and see how it's working out. We'll try to get that slow-mo for you guys too. All right, now I did lower my aim point just slightly because I wanted to try to stay in the same categorical grouping. But the 3 that we have across the top here are our 3 newest ones. And I I'm going to call that for an average self-defense engagement range. I'm going to go ahead and call that zeroed. And we got some good slow-mo shots for you guys today. I appreciate you watching the video, and you know, we'll see what we got for you next time.